What do you think he was?
I thought he was a gunslinger.
Nope.
Well, I learned something. Hello, everybody. We're kind of talking shit, and I'm trying to look something up real quick for Zach real fast. Stop trying to spawn a hamburger. He's not here.
Yes, he is. He's always here in my heart.
No, he's not. I killed him. I ate him. He tasted like chicken.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Whiskey Wednesdays, a Fools and Flagons show where I, the DM, review and discuss various topics regarding D&D as suggested by you and the lovely people in our Discord. Whiskey Wednesdays will be available the Wednesday after the live stream on our YouTube channel in VOD form and in podcast form on iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, and many other mainstream podcast services. We have a calendar linked down below that will show you when we're going to be streaming next and what's going to be streamed. And last but not least, donations are never required but always appreciated. If you would like to support us, please consider our coffee page. All proceeds from donations and memberships go straight back into making Fools and Flagons an even better experience, and it helps keep the podcast alive and well. This shit
Always
ain't cheap.
required, never appreciated.
Shut up, bread.
Bread.
All right, well, as you can see today, we have Kirsten, Brick, Issa, Zach, and Pez.
I see how it is. You just called me by my regular name, but you called him by Pez. Okay, whatever.
You know, I'll be honest, I've been having trouble calling people by their normal names because every other week I have to call you by your characters, and you're named your characters in Discord. So I've literally started like thinking of Kirsten as Kasumi, and I was about to say, and Brick as Brick. Zeke as Brick. Yeah. Issa will just kind of always be Issa until she has a character that we play with, and then her name has to change.
Of course.
And unfortunately for Zach, and even him for me, I don't think we'll ever not be able to call each other by our names because we've known each other by our names for like 20 years. It's just...
Well, I mean, your name is DM. Fucking, why would I call you any? Why would I call you DM? That's so stupid.
Yeah, I know.
Old.
Honestly, I've been struggling between... Because I've always called you Nim. Because Mitchell just feels weird, and I feel like if I call you Mitchell, it feels like you're in trouble.
I hate it. Stop it.
Nimchel.
Nah.
Nimchel.
But it's always been Nim or Nimothy, but here recently, I've been really struggling to not accidentally call you Pez.
Well, I feel touched inappropriately.
It was me.
I'm just going to go ahead and take my first drink for the night and get this party started.
Oh my goodness.
What you drinking?
The last of my tealings.
No. Oh,
sorry.
I want you to guess.
I'm sorry.
Anyway.
It is the last of my previous bottle of tealings. I have... Oh god, I don't even know how many ounces that Tullamore Dew is. It's the big one. Like, it wouldn't even fit in a pitcher kind of big one.
I can see Ian going into the fucking liquor store. It's like, you guys got Tullamore Dew? We just got the big one.
I'll take 8! And then I got another bottle of tealings. And that ran me like $90. And my dad was there, and he was like, oh god, that's a lot of money. It's like, yeah, but this is gonna last me for like a year and a half.
Yeah, but big monster.
But big monster!
Can I start off this with a rant?
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Yay. Slams little cobalt hands on a bar top.
Can't
Can't do that. My computer will shut off.
Minotaurs should be not medium.
Do you mean they should be large?
Yes.
Well,
How big is a... So, you guys know
Medium
this a little
creatures go anywhere from 4 feet to 8 feet. And
Tall.
also, centaurs are considered medium.
I think, to be fair, this is one of those... They're not doing it to be a dick. They're doing it because large creatures would force DMs... You'd have to have... What is it? You'd have to have specifically tailored areas for that creature.
right.
Is a Goliath considered large?
No, they're still
No?
considered
Oh.
medium.
That's-
So
Yeah,
the main
stupid.
thing about why player races are never anything other than small or medium is because small and medium creatures still take up a 5 foot by 5 foot square. If you were allowed to go to be a tiny creature only takes up a quarter of a 5 foot square if you're considering a battle map. A large creature takes up a 2 by 2 square. That can cause not only complications for the DM, like what Zach was saying, but complications for the player as well, because all of a sudden, you can't fit through doorways anymore. You can't fit through crawl spaces. You wouldn't be able to climb normal ladders and ropes. You're just too big.
You can crouch.
Debatable.
You can't crouch up a rope.
Debatable.
Try me.
That's actually
Now-
debatable. That's actually debatable.
You know, it's now that I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking of the old Batman where they literally just turned the camera sideways and they just like constipated walked up the side of a building.
Yeah, or like
now-
where they're completely like their knees are in their chest and they're holding onto the rope like to not fall off, but they're trying to inch their way up like a worm.
Yeah.
Horns
Now,
don't count.
I will say, there was a homebrew class way back, like COVID time when we were trying to do the text-based campaign on the Discord, which crashed and burned horribly. But there was a Lamia race that I really wanted to try out because I've always just really liked snakes and I thought it was kind of cool.
Snake.
But
Almost snake.
there was a cool feature on it that I hadn't seen anywhere really, where if you move, you take up a 1 by 2. You can take an action to curl yourself up and fit into a 5 by 5. But it was an interesting concept that I hadn't really seen explored before.
I think Minotaurs should have that, and the way they do that is they just suck in their gut.
They just
It's not how
suck
that
their head in.
works.
Or you could go with like the Tauren in World of Warcraft, and like if they were to stand up straight, they'd be fucking huge. But instead, they just kind of
No,
like...
you're thinking of trolls.
No, I'm thinking of the Tauren.
Or
if-
stand straight up though.
If they were to like fully raise their head, if that were even possible, they would be
Oh.
gigantic. But they're like hunched.
They are their neck is hunched forward, but that's also like walking with an upright neck. That's not normal for Tauren. Like
No, I know.
their neck doesn't move like that.
No,
Now,
it's
fucking,
not
like,
physically possible. I'm just saying that if they could kind of like and get their head up, then they would be even bigger.
Fucking trolls are like fucking 8.5 foot tall. Like Jesus Christ, dude.
Mhm.
Like
And then one other little side tangent.
Uh-huh.
I think the best depiction of Minotaurs in media would probably be from the first Lion Witch in the Wardrobe.
I don't know.
Because-
Yeah.
Those Minotaurs were fucking badass because they were all practical effects.
Mm.
Let's see here.
Yeah.
I had to
Um,
pick probably my favorite looking Minotaur.
Yeah, that's a good
Oh.
question.
I think not my favorite, my preferred. Like if I had to pick a look for a minute. Oh, perfect. Where should I put this? Creatures, I guess. I'll put it in creatures.
Yeah, so long as it's not explicit.
No.
I know what your Twitter's like.
I put the tame stuff on there. Yeah, so
That
creatures-
honestly
creatures-
looks like someone took a char and put a Minotaur head on it. Like, doesn't that look like the racial armor that the that the char have?
I can see the inspiration, yeah, but at the same time, like I've seen a lot of armor like that, so like I could definitely see where you're coming from, but at the same time, like it is still pretty.
Oh, also, Nim, random note. I figured out how to do the alt crop thing, so thank you so much for telling me about that.
Yay!
Yeah, I do.
Teach
The,
So of our audio listeners, there is now a picture in the bar.
Look at it. It's
Yeah.
so muscular.
it looks really
Muscular.
cool. Like I would personally not play a character like that because
I would.
I'm afraid that I would, make men and women flock to me for things.
I mean, when we were
Yeah,
doing
but,
Dragon's
uh,
Odyssey, I played a Minotaur, and I fucking loved it.
Yes, but
Like-
you also didn't try to sex up everything.
True, he was quite the Irish gentleman, but I kind of like some of the little like off tangent things. Like I believe it was Kirsten's character Briona that put the little charm on his horn from his grandmother,
Yes.
and it's like,
Oh.
Yes, the one that was
cute.
the one that we had to pretend you weren't crazy and talking to.
Yes. Honestly,
Yeah,
I think
a
that
little-
campaign had one of my favorite player moments in it when I shot the slave dealer with a Cupid arrow or something.
That was funny. I still remember, what was it, when the harpies were coming. That was back before Lapine, or before Herringon were a thing, and that's when we had Lapines and we had play tested. And I jumped, and Zeke just had this look on his face where he was like, "You're as high as the harpies are in the air now." Like, yay!
Rabbit
say
jump
what
good.
Say what you will about. Well, I don't even know where I'm going with that thought, but somehow Zach always knows how to put the fear of God in me whenever I DM.
Okay, it's the same with the. Well, actually, you know what? This is gonna be a Whiskey Wednesdays topic.
Okay.
Zach. Zach in D&D. We're gonna come up with a couple things to talk about. For next time we do. Oh wait, will I be here? Yeah, I will. I will be here. That's right.
Yeah, because you'll be out of town for next week, but you'll be back in time for D&D. Yeah. So it'll be next week.
Yeah, add that to the
Will I be
list.
here? Wait,
Uh,
hold on, will I be here?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'll
will
be
you?
here. I'll be here.
Say, tough fucking luck if you aren't.
So now, Zach, let me ask you, as far as this topic is concerned, are you thinking more like you want us to tell stories of Zach being Zach in D&D, or...
Let's do that, but let's also do the way Zach thinks while he plays games, like D&D. Like,
Okay, so I'll put down past stories and min maxing.
Well, it's interesting though, and we'll save this for mostly for later. But it's not just about him min maxing; it's literally how Zach plays. Because he takes the words "you can do anything" to the extreme, and honestly, there's probably a lot that everyone could learn as a player from Zach.
add
Absolutely.
this to add, like, so we'll come up with this later, but we'll come up with a couple things in there to add later. But let's continue on to what we have for tonight.
Well, no, I mean, if you have it fresh on your mind, go ahead and tell me. I have the document open. I'm ready to type.
So, like, let's come up with scenarios
Oh.
and
see how Zach
and
can
see
break
how
them.
I would react to them.
Okay.
See how I would specifically
All right.
react to that situation.
Okay, hold on. So in the Discord, I'm doing here. Everyone has Whiskey Wednesdays homework.
Like a combat situation. Doesn't have to be combat. It could be combat. Could be stealing. Could be breaking and entering. Could be anything. And I will not react to it. I will do my best not to look at the topics until that night, so that it is
So-
a fresh reaction, so that you can see
Everyone has
exactly
Whiskey
what my brain
Wednesdays
is thinking.
homework. Whoever wants to participate, please come up with a scenario for Zach to overcome in regards to D&D.
I already have
That
one in
can
mind
be
that I've been kind of
role
wanting to
play.
use.
Combat, anything.
Feeling, like literally
If you-
anything.
Oh, I know how to do.
I'm actually really looking forward to this.
Yeah, Zach, you're gonna have to choose like a specific character to go into these scenarios with, though.
It's honestly, I'll do it as on.
Okay.
One, because I like Zon. Two, because I don't have any more character slots.
Alright, so please post it here with the spoiler tag by putting the blah blah on either side of your scenario. Like this. Oops, well that didn't work.
Also, just be glad that I didn't ask Ian if I could do a hybrid race of Minotaur Centaur.
That was
Bruh.
exactly what we came up with for the one for the R thing. It's like I told Ian my character and the traits behind it. And I'm like, he's like, oh, are you gonna do a Dragonborn? I'm like, no, Heron gone.
I should have seen it coming. I really should
Oh
have.
yes. He should have, but I found it hysterical because it's actually a suspect fucking sorcerer.
So, anybody that is currently watching this live or is listening to this on podcast form next Wednesday, if you have a scenario that you would like Zach to try to overcome, please join the Discord. Link should be down below or in the description of this particular podcast so you can join. It's free to join, even if you just pop in to just say hi, post this, and never come back again. Even if you just want to lurk, you want to come in and talk, whatever. We welcome damn near everybody, except commies. No commies.
And you don't have to make it hard either. If you want like a basic situation,
you can literally just say Zach
anything.
versus brick wall, and
Yeah.
if you've
Been there,
been
done
with us
that.
for a while, you understand the reference. But we'll see what he comes up with. If you do think of it and you're able to or know how to put the spoiler marks around it, it at least saves him the accidental looking up of the scenarios to pre-plan. So, with that being said, I'm kind of excited for next week. But shall we get started?
yeah,
Well, we've already started, but shall we pick a topic off the
get
menu?
back on track.
Absolutely. Are we rolling the dice again?
Nah, fuck that.
Roll a d5.
Oh,
Roll
yeah, that's the problem. We
D6.
don't have a D5. I'm just going to go on and start talking about the Blade Singers.
Yeah.
So,
didn't
If
actually
a
have access
wizard
to
could
those.
rage,
so honestly,
mention that.
I was a little underwhelmed. Hearing the name of them, I was expecting more.
Wizard.
But anyway, I'll read through the doohickey real quick, and we'll go ahead and put that up on the
The
screen.
doohickey real
It's a little small, I know, but it's kind of the best I can do at the moment without just completely covering the whole screen.
Sometimes God gives you a small doohickey.
Im, is there anything else you'd like to talk about before we get started?
Moss is great.
Okay, moving on. Blade Singers, as far as wizards are concerned.
Wizard.
Blade Singers master a tradition of wizardry that incorporates swordplay and dance. Originally created by elves, this tradition has been adopted by non-elf practitioners who honor and expand on the elven ways. In combat, a Blade Singer uses a series of intricate, elegant maneuvers that fend off harm and allow the Blade Singer to channel magic into devastating attacks and a cunning defense. Many who have observed a Blade Singer at work remember the display as one of the more beautiful experiences in their life. A glorious dance accompanied by a singing blade. So, second level, training in war and song. You gain proficiency with light armor, which for anyone who doesn't know, wizards and sorcerers are one of the few classes that cannot wear armor. The idea behind it is that their hand motions and what they need to do is too constrained by armor, and they don't dedicate the practice to be able... Generally, they do not practice the ability to cast with the heavier armor on, so they prefer to not wear it at all so that they are free to move. So with a wizard being able to have any armor at all is fucking massive. You gain proficiency with one type of one-handed melee weapon of your choice. You also gain proficiency in the performance skill if you don't already have it. The other second level thing that you get is Blade Song, the namesake of the subclass. You can invoke an elven magic called the Blade Song, provided that you are not wearing medium or heavy armor or using a shield. It graces you with supernatural speed, agility, and focus. You can use a bonus action to start the Blade Song, which lasts for 1 minute. It ends early if you are incapacitated. If you don medium or heavy armor or a shield, or if you use two hands to make an attack with a weapon. So if you have a versatile weapon that lets you attack with one hand or two hands, it ends your Blade Song. I'm not entirely sure why you would cast Blade Song for 1 minute and then take the hour it takes to put on medium and heavy armor to, Anyway, that seems like a really stupid... The shield I can understand, because the shield is a very quick thing to put on. Anyway, you can also dismiss the Blade Song at any time, no action required. While your Blade Song is active, you gain the following benefits. You gain a bonus to your AC equal to your intelligence modifier, minimum of 1. That is fucking huge if you consider the fact that a wizard uses their intelligence as their spellcasting modifier.
Huge.
Huge. So not only are you getting light armor, which is what, a +1, +2 to your AC, +1.
So light armor and medium armor both have a base. I think the best light armor is a 12 plus your dexterity, and I think light armor does not put a restriction on how much dexterity can be added. So if you have, say, you have a full 20 in your dexterity slot, that's already 17.
Yeah, and then if you, as a wizard, you should have your intelligence max, so that's another, 20 in there. So you're looking at 22 AC as a fucking wizard.
Yeah.
Your walking speed increases by 10 feet. You have advantage on dexterity checks, acrobatics checks, sorry. You gain a bonus to Constitution saving throw you make to maintain your concentration on a spell, and that particular bonus equals your intelligence modifier. So you could have a +5 to your concentration checks. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you gain all expended uses of it when you finish a long rest. So that's kind of the bread and butter of a Blade Song. It's very good. I was just very underwhelmed with the next 3 features you get. Keep in mind, it's only 3 more features.
So I was actually going to ask, since I'm kind of actually looking at this class as we're talking about it, Spell Mastery doesn't seem to have a spell that you can choose.
What do you mean?
So I'm going down here looking at like all these different things, and at 18th level you get Spell Mastery, and it says choose 2 spells. Doesn't actually give you any spells to choose from though for me.
So you have achieved such mastery over certain spells that you can cast them at will. Choose a first level wizard spell and a second level wizard spell that are in your spell book. You can cast those spells at their lowest level without expending a spell slot when you have them prepared. If you want to cast either spell at a higher level, you must expend a spell slot as normal.
I think it's because I don't have any wizard spells picked, so I might explain that.
Yeah. Well, I'm also looking at the actual, that part of the book. So it is going to expound a little bit more here than it would in your character creation, where it's trying to keep things short and concise. So let me go over these last 3 features real quick, because they are very, very short. And this is where I start to be like, this seems a little to me. At 6th level, you get extra attack. You can attack twice instead of once. Weird. I know, that's just, who would have thought that attacking twice means more than one? Whenever you take the attack action on your turn. I'm salty today. I don't know why. Moreover, you can cast one of your cantrips in place of one of those attacks, which that is cool. You basically can have a melee attack and cast a cantrip. At 10th level, you get Song of Defense. You can direct your magic to absorb damage while your Blade Song is active. When you take damage, you can use your reaction to expend 1 spell slot and reduce the damage to you by an amount equal to 5 times the spell slot's level. So you sacrifice a 2nd level spell slot, you're reducing the damage dealt to you by 10. And lastly, we've got 14th level Song of Victory. You can add your intelligence modifier to the damage of your melee weapon attacks while your Blade Song is active. So, end game, or not even necessarily end game, but if you have a full 20 in it, then you're adding an extra 5 damage to your melee attacks. So it's like it seems good, but I don't think it's one that I would pick. Now, see, in all fairness, you were the one that suggested this, so I would like you to take the floor and weigh in on this.
Absolutely. So to address your first concern of there aren't that many class perks. That's true for wizards across the board. Wizards are one of those classes that their main thing is going to be spellcasting, and they are arguably the most versatile spellcaster in the game, so most of their stuff is just going to come from spells. They
That's
each
fair.
get about 5 class abilities each. I will say that someone pointed out to me this class gets a lot better if you take if you do dual wielding and take a couple of feats to augment that. I know there's a feat to give you the dual wielding fighting style. There's a feat that makes it to where you can cast spells without a free hand.
Well, so here's another question I've got. If we're considering that the wizard is using like a normal sword, you go to the market, you buy a metal sword. Does all of this still kind of work if you were to use like, oh my god, I just blanked on this. Let's like flame blade or something. Like there's a spell that you basically create a blade out of fire or something.
Yes, the Shadow Blade would be a better example. I know there's definitely a spell called Shadow Blade. I think it's like 2d8 damage per hit, so it's already unbelievably strong. But if I actually let me look up and see if I can find the spell right now.
Yeah, what am I doing? I have D&D Beyond right here.
Blade.
So did you see what the other? So I've got the dual wielder in for you right now.
Pull your microphone a little bit closer, please.
Did you see what other thing other than dual wield that you needed for that specific?
So if you wanted to dual wield, you would need a couple of feats. You would need, you would need the fighting style feat, which gives you one of the fighting styles from the fighter class.
So fighting initiate, I'm guessing.
Yeah, fighting initiate, I think.
Zeke, I was thinking of green flame blade. That's what I was thinking of. It's a cantrip.
Fighting. You can add your ability modifier to the damage of the second attack. Okay, yeah, there you go. So I got both of those there for you.
So the one I was thinking of though, Ian, is called. It's a second level illusion spell from Xanathar's. Casting time is 1 bonus action, so you don't have to use up an action. And it's concentration up to 1 minute, so it lasts as long as your blade song, if a little more or a little less, depending on what order you do things in.
You said it was illusion? What was it called again?
It's called Shadow Blade. Just to read through its kind of blip here. You weave together threads of shadow to create a sword of solidified gloom in your hand. This magic sword lasts until the spell ends, so 1 minute. It counts as a simple melee weapon in which you are proficient, and it deals 2d8 psychic damage on a hit, has the finesse, light, and thrown properties. Range of 20 normal and 60 at disadvantage. In addition, when you use the sword to attack a target that is in dim light or darkness, you make the attack roll with advantage. If you drop the weapon or throw it, it dissipates at the end of the turn. Thereafter, while the spell persists, you can use a bonus action to cause the sword to reappear in your hand. If you cast the spell at higher levels using a 3rd or 4th, damage increases to 3d8. If you cast it at 5th or 6th, it increases to 4d8. If you cast the spell using 7th level higher, it increases to 5d8. So this would count for your sword for the spell song.
I don't like that giggle.
Oh, good. I just found out there's a jump spell, and I'm playing a Heron that can.
You didn't know there was a jump spell?
I'm using this in tandem because Herongon's rabbit hop is a jump.
No, I get that. I'm just surprised you didn't know that jump was a spell. I figured you would have found that by now.
So rabbit hop, I think at level 20 is 35 feet. It triples its distance. Just process that. I could jump 100 feet through the air.
You're literally just like standing in the Nightly Kingdoms and go, I'm gonna go home, guys. Pew!
You can leap
right over the Whispering
in
Sea.
a single bound.
It's like, please continue. I'm sorry, I'm giggling like an evil fucking mastermind.
No, you're fine. Actually, Zach, if you would kind of summarize the 2 feats I pointed out, since you said you had them pulled up.
Actually, now that I can see this, I didn't actually realize dual wielding gave you the dual wielding. I thought it was just it augmented it so that it would make it better. But now that it gives it to you, that makes a lot of sense.
So any character can dual wield, but unless you have the fighting style, you don't get to add any bonuses to the offhand attack. And unless you have the other feat, it's still a little bit more restricted.
So dual wielder is super easy. You gain +1 AC while you hold a weapon in each hand, and you can use 2-weapon fighting even with one-hand melee wieldings.
So, real quick, just I want to touch on 2-weapon fighting. The way that works is that as your main attack, the main weapon in your main hand, you would roll the dice and add your bonus damage to it. So if it's like 2d8 plus 5, cool. If you have that exact same, like a copy of that weapon in your offhand, as a bonus action, you can attack with your offhand. Same weapon, but you don't get to add the bonus. You would only get to roll the 2d8 for damage. What these feats are doing is it's also letting you add that +5 as well. So please continue.
Yeah, no, so I do want to point out Shadowblade is concentration. She would summon 2 Shadowblades.
Sorry, you kind of crinkled there for a minute. What'd you say?
So Shadowblade is concentration, so you wouldn't be able to summon 2 of those. So if you were using Shadowblade and another blade, it would be... So, sorry, if you were doing dual wielding, you would be Shadowblade in one hand, regular sword in another hand.
Unless you had, like, that one item that I have, the Ring of the Split Mind or something.
Yeah,
but
unless you had a...
There are ways to circumvent that, but it's not always ideal, because with concentration, as soon as you get hit, and if you're in melee, you're gonna get hit. So just, keep that in mind.
Right. Sorry, Zach, continue.
Oh, okay. 1 second, let me go back. Picking out spells, and I'm kind of giggling at the fact that I might have another evil. So let's see here. So I went with Force Feet was Warcaster because, yeah, why not?
I mean, having advantage on concentration checks and being able to cast a spell as a opportunity attack it's almost a no-brainer.
Yeah. So dual wielder is super good. You get +1 AC while you're wielding a separate melee weapon in each hand. So 2 weapons +1 AC. Literally, if you don't do that and you have the ability to, you're dumb. You can always use 2-weapon fighting even when the one-handed melee weapons you're wielding aren't light. So you can use 2 not light one-handed weapons.
Yeah,
and then you can...
Sorry, I did want to cut in and specify. Normally, for dual wielding, you have to use something like 2 short swords or 2 small hand axes because they can't be any bigger than a very light object. This feat allows you to use like 2 long swords to go ham.
Yep.
Which does a lot more damage.
And it also just allows you to pull both your weapons out at the same time instead of one.
Well,
so like imagine you just have a sheath that pulls out 2 swords instead of pulling out one with each hand and wasting actions to do that.
So a question about that feat real quick.
Yep.
If we consider the fact that the wizard itself is limited to the weapons it can carry, does this feat override that? Or does it just override it in the sense of like a fighter?
I'm willing to bet money you could probably... Go ahead.
Yeah, so you gained... so the actual word of training in War and Song, you gain the proficiency of one type of one-handed melee weapon of your choice. So as long as you take this feat, and say you did like a variant human, which gets a feat right off the bat, you could probably do it to where you choose, I'm going to choose longsword, and then if you line up the feats correctly, you can introduce dual wielding as kind of a feature later on, and that way you just pick up 2 longswords.
Okay.
Because it's just a type of weapon, not the specific weapon like I have to do for Eldritch Knight.
Okay.
And then, honestly, fighting initiative's pretty straightforward. It just allows you to add your modifier to the damage of the second weapon type you have. So if you're using 2 longswords, your second weapon also gets all the modifiers.
Yep.
Cool.
Sorry, go ahead.
That was it?
No, I just said cool.
Ian. There is a little bit of rule lawyering. And Ian, I realized this when I was researching it the other day, that this is probably a subject we need to talk about. And I'm calling myself out here because I have not kept track of this because I completely forgot this was a thing. Normally, when you have a spell that needs a somatic component, which is you waving your hands or doing something, you need to have a hand that doesn't have anything in it. Brick often has 2 things in.
See, that's always kind of bothered me because, like, okay, I get it. A shield, yeah, you're holding it, but you can wiggle your fingers and it's still attached to your arm.
Right.
Like, that's always bothered me. So that's why I haven't really been saying anything about it, because I know that with you having a shield, like, yeah, your palm is like held together, but you can still wiggle your fingers and all at least. So
Well, what I was saying is, this will highly depend on how your DM feels about this subject. But if you are dual wielding as a blade singer, technically, according to rules as written, you cannot cast spells without a 3rd feat. And I believe it's War Mage, or I'd have to find it again because I've forgotten which one it is.
D&D Beyond is not great about letting you just scroll through feats.
There is you might have to do some digging. There is a feat that allows you, rules as written, to cast a somatic spell without a free hand.
That does sound familiar. Isn't it like subtle casting or something like that?
Maybe. I honestly can't remember.
I know
it's lumped in with a couple other things inside the feat.
I know that's a feature that sorcerers can take, so I'm sure it's a feat somewhere.
Yeah. And I'm just saying, for anyone who's listening and for the group as a whole, that just is largely a conversation up to you and your DM about whether or not you would have to take that 3rd feat for a dual-wielding Bladesinger. And
I mean,
so that was.
If I wanted to be a real stickler, like whenever Brick says, "Oh, well, I'm gonna pull out my gun," it's like, okay, well, that's gonna take a whole action because you have to drop your sword and pull the gun out. Your turn's over. Right. But for me, if I wanted to play a hardcore game and really make my players think, yeah, I'd go for that. I want Brick to shoot shit. I don't want to have him waste an entire turn pulling out the judge with a 3-foot barrel like, hang on, guys, it's almost out of the holster. Like, no, just pull it out and shoot it. I don't...
Who framed Roger Rabbit?
Yeah, again, I'm all about the rule. Me personally, I'm all about the rule of cool. But every now and then, I do have to crack down on the rules because there's just some stuff that I don't want to overlook because it will break the game.
Right. One of the last things I did want to kind of sing the praises of for this is because this this class is almost the reverse of how I play as an Eldritch Knight, because Eldritch Knight is, oh, you're a fighter, you can hit stuff really hard, but we're going to give you a little bit of magic. Blade Song is, oh, you're a wizard, you cast a lot of spells, but we're going to give you a little bit of hit something and a little bit of tank. And they do that really well at 10th level with Song of Defense, which is the one where you can absorb damage. Well, if you think about it,
use a spell slot to absorb damage, yeah.
Yeah. At 10th level, Wizard already has a 5th level spell slot, and I think he has more than one. So if you really took a hit that would really hurt, you can just mitigate 25 points of damage right off the bat. Which is...
That's huge.
Yeah, that can get really strong, especially at later levels, where if you have the slots to burn, and granted, you don't have many, but I think starting at 18th level, like your in-game content, you have three 5th level spells to just be like, oh, 25 damage there, 25 damage there, 25 damage there, and that's not even your whole arsenal. You still have tons of other spells to choose from. So it is a very nice ability when push comes to shove.
One of these days, I definitely want to play a wizard. I think that would be a lot of fun for me.
I definitely can see. I'm not glad. I wish we would have taken a look at this. This would be a very good class for Zahn as well. Like, this is a lot of shit I would take for as Zahn.
What, wizard or Blade Song?
Blade Song wizard. Like, a lot. Like, this is on par. No, honestly, I'm pretty sure I'd be more deadly as this than Zahn.
I think I'd probably go for Chronergy or Graviturgy.
Yeah, the introduction of those with Matthew Mercer's new school of magic, Dunamancy, has been definitely a game changer. That's another thing I love about Wizards is, like, you get this access to a whole, it probably has one of the largest spell lists that you can choose from in the game. And there is so much that you can do to be a jack of all trades while still also focusing in one area to give you that extra oomph, which is what the schools are for, these subclasses that the wizard has. Like, obviously, School of Evocation is very popular because a lot of the healing spells are evocation, and all of the elemental damage spells are evocation.
Fireball.
Or at least, maybe not all of them, but maybe 90% of them are.
Let's be honest.
And
The most
it just-
important one is in there.
Yeah, the most important one. But like, same thing I was talking about. These guys, wizards, only get 5 abilities. Well, one of like some of their abilities, potent cantrip for School of Evocation. Starting at 6th level, your damage cantrips affect even creatures that avoid the brunt of the effect. When a creature succeeds on a saving throw against your cantrip, the creature still takes half damage. So for
Those who are not
cantrips,
aware,
like,
if you have a cantrip that makes the opposing that makes your target have to roll a save, if they succeed, it's no damage whatsoever.
yeah, and at later levels where you're dealing that 3d6, 4d6, 5d6 cantrip, that really hurts. At 10th level, you can add your intelligence modifier to 1 damage roll of any wizard's evocation spell you can cast. So you add that extra oomph to a fireball. Yeah,
Every little bit adds up, man.
Yeah, the wizards do not get a lot of class abilities, but they get some really good ones in the right places.
They are able to access more spells than most any other class, I would think.
I can see that.
And while they don't have the same access to them like a druid or a cleric would, because they get to choose what new spells they want every day and can switch them out, wizards can just go out and find them in the world. And if you have a very nice DM, there's a spell scroll waiting for you around every corner.
And even if it's not a spell scroll, like if they just find a spell in a book and you give them the time to put it into their own tome, so long as they are able to transcribe it and they have the materials to do so, they can more or less cast any spell in the game.
Yes.
Yeah,
More or less.
Maybe like 80% of them, but still.
That's still more or less. Like
More or
80% of the spells in a game where you've got like 300-400 spells, it feels like, that's a lot, man.
So, wizard is definitely one of those, like, yeah, you're squishy. Yeah, there's the joke of 1d4 damage will kill you at lower levels, because back in the other forms of the game, it actually did. But man, you give them enough time and they will just destroy everything.
You give them enough time and you leave them in the back line, Jesus fuck, Batman. And wizards also have arcane recovery, don't they? Or no, that's warlock.
Let me check. Yeah, they got arcane recovery. A couple of classes have arcane recovery.
Yeah, there it is. Okay. And you get that at 4th level.
Yeah.
Actually, no, wait.
No, wait, you get that at 2nd level.
Yeah, you get that at 2nd level. Damn.
Actually, you might get that right off the bat. Hold on.
Yeah, it doesn't really say. It's weird.
I think you just get that right off the bat.
I'm not gonna lie. The wizard that I have on here has got a charisma modifier of 22.
Doesn't surprise me at all.
I don't. What does charisma even do?
Damn you, Will Wheaton! Why'd you
not
give
damn
Zach
you.
all your luck, you fuck?
Take it back.
So wait. So, what modifies wizard spells? Is it charisma?
No, it's intelligence. It's
Yeah,
the
intelligence. Sorcerer
What?
is charisma.
Why the fuck do I have 22 charisma? Wait a minute.
You did that wrong.
No, I didn't. It's because I redid Ren, and he had that chess piece from your campaign that has fucking +1 charisma.
yeah.
Oh, got it.
Some strange reason. No, see, I took
Yeah.
that away and it didn't go away. Why didn't it go away?
That character was broken from the get-go. Like,
Yeah,
something
this
was
character
wrong with that
right
character
now-
sheet.
At level 20, Strength 16, Dexterity 16, Constitution 20, Intelligence 20, Wisdom 10, Charisma
Yeah.
22.
D&D Beyond, I love you guys, but you really need to hustle up and fix homebrewing and make it a lot more streamlined, because right now it's far too complicated and it's broken.
Yeah, Rabbit Hot. You can jump 30 feet without provoking opportunity attacks. And if you cast the jump spell, it triples the distance you can jump.
Well, yeah, it's
And
not
you
going to
can do
trigger an
that-
opportunity attack. No one's fucking expecting you to go up.
No, it's just like... But the thing is, Rabbit Hop isn't just up, it's in a direction.
I'm aware of that. No one's expecting that, Zach.
I'm
No
aware.
one expects the Spanish Inquisition.
No one expects the rabbit hop.
But yeah, so Blazesinger definitely, and Wizards in general, everyone just seems so scared to play them because it's like, oh, it's a lot of spells, or oh, they don't get that good stuff, or oh, they're really squishy. Just
I mean, in all fairness, though, it is a
so much
lot.
fun. It is a lot. It is definitely not I'm a first time player. Let me play a wizard. Hold on.
Yeah,
Slow down.
that's a lot of info to try to hold in at the get-go. Like, you need to play a little bit first before you really delve into Wizards, because it's a lot of stuff you got to keep track of. It's a lot of nuances and positioning, and again, like, you have access to 80% of the spells available in the game. You got to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Wizards, unfortunately, Zammy isn't here, even though they were the one that suggested this. I think they were just being a bit of an asshole when they wrote it. But wizard singing bards. So I was going to ask them if they were here what the fuck they meant by that. And if they weren't, I was going to see what everyone else thought that might potentially mean. Like, which subclass would a wizard singing bard be?
Funny enough, this actually opens up a conversation to one of the bard's more interesting abilities.
Okay.
So for anyone who has played a bard or hasn't played a bard, bards have this interesting ability. Let me find the name of it. Called Magical Secrets. I don't know, Ian, if you have looked into this before.
Is it just a basic class feature?
Yeah, it is. It is across the board. All bards get this.
By 10th level, you have plundered magical knowledge from a wide spectrum of disciplines. Choose 2 spells from any classes, including this one. A spell you choose must be of a level you can cast, as shown on the bard table, or a cantrip. The chosen spells count as bard spells for you and are included in the number of spells known column of the bard table. You learn 2 additional spells from any classes at 14th and 18th. So you basically, at level 18, have 6 spells. Any 6 spells, so long as you can cast it, of an appropriate level.
Yeah,
Wait, so
and you get to choose multiple spells multiple times while you're leveling up.
It unlocks at level 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then 14, and then 18. And I want to point out, for any fans of Critical Role, this is actually where Scanlan gets a lot of his signature spells. Because, fun fact, Big B's hand is not on the bard list. It is a wizard spell that he got using this. I actually believe the Magical Mansion is also not a bard spell.
That is a wizard spell. That is absolutely not a bard spell.
When you say wizard singing bard, bards can literally sing wizard spells into existence.
Fair.
I'm scrolling and there's a lot of spells.
Yeah. And that's not limited to, I guess you could say, arcane-based spells. They can cast cleric spells as well. Yeah.
It literally says spells from any classes. Any. Yep. Now, again, something to keep in mind with bards is once they learn a spell, that's it. They have it. You cannot change your spells on a long rest like you can with druids and clerics and shit.
Isn't it like a couple of levels that you get up or something like that?
Oh,
No.
Oh, wow.
I can't wild shape.
That's not a spell. That's a class ability.
Oh.
Yeah. I think there is a class that lets you change your. I think you're thinking of Warlock. I think a Warlock, when they level up, they can choose one spell to swap.
A couple of classes can do that. I think Sorcerer might be able to do that as well. There's a couple of classes, because even Eldritch Knight can be like, I'm going to swap this one out. This one wasn't working. But it has to do that every time you level up.
Bard with Eldritch Blast. That's cool.
Yeah.
Why not?
Okay, so we basically just discovered that wizard singing bards are basically any bard.
Any bard.
All right. And that's
Oh, my
fine.
goodness.
All right. Well, that covers that. Zammy, thank you for the recommendation. So
I just found a way to have a wizard modifier of plus 13 to hit, and that's not even as high as it can go.
oh god. See, this is what you're gonna have to deal with here, chat, is figuring out a way to make him just be like, what?
The highest I can see this going is plus 14.
I just saw Zammy's recommendation.
Yeah. I can't remember what it's from, but there's like a sort of famous scene where it's like, I want guards stationed everyone. I want big guards, and I want small guards to make the big guards look even bigger. And I want them stationed like this. Big guard, little guard, big,
Oh.
small, big.
Oh, that's the Simpsons movie. When he's outside the dome.
Yeah. I feel like that's everyone trying to create a situation that Zach can't get through.
Okay.
If only I didn't know.
So, before we start talking about Zach being a min-maxing genius, the next topic is another one of Zeke's. It is Sorcerer's Meta Magic. So, the basic premise behind Meta Magic is... Oop, I forgot to turn the thing back on. At 3rd level, you gain the ability to twist your spells to suit your needs. You gain 2 of the following Meta Magic options of your choice. You can gain another one at 10th and 17th. So by the time you're level 17, you have 4 of these options. You can only use 1 Meta Magic option on a spell when you cast it, unless otherwise noted. We have Careful Spell. When you cast a spell that forces other creatures to make a saving throw, you can protect some of those creatures from the spell's full force. To do so, you spend 1 sorcery point and choose a number of those creatures up to your charisma modifier, minimum of 1. A chosen creature automatically succeeds on its saving throw against the spell. So basically, if you're a murder hobo that likes to cast Fireball but you don't like killing your friends anymore, this might be a good one to take. You're still going to hurt them, just not as bad. What was that, Toaster Oven?
Oh, I was just saying, I have used this a lot, especially when there were rogues in the mix and they could just mitigate the rest of the damage.
Oh, true. Oh, yeah, because if they have the, what is it, Uncanny Dodge feat, just on a success, they just take no damage. You've got Distant Spell. When you cast a spell that has a range of 5 feet or greater, you can spend 1 sorcery point to double the range of the spell. If you cast a spell that is the range of touch, you can use a sorcery point to make the spell cast out to a range of 30 feet. Which is...
I know we were... Yeah. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I really like this one because I know we were talking about maybe like a D&D session or two ago. Someone was asking, "Oh, can I cast Speak with Animals on someone else?" It's like, no, it's a self one. If you have this one, you can cast it on someone else.
Well, with the range of touch, range of self, you still wouldn't be able to cast at 30 feet.
Never mind, I'm a moron. Carry on.
Will do. Empowered Spell. When you roll damage for a spell, you can spend 1 sorcery point to re-roll a number of the damage dice up to your charisma modifier, minimum of 1. You must use the new rolls. You can use Empowered Spell even if you have already used a different metamagic option during the casting of the spell. I think this is the only one that allows you to do both. Like, do it with another thing, but there's plenty of others to go through. I could be wrong. But essentially, if you rolled like 3d6s for damage and you got like a 2, a 3, and a 3, you're like, oh, well, that sucked. I'm going to use Empowered Spell. And you roll and you get 3 1s, you're stuck with those 3 1s.
This is definitely one of those where it's like, you rolled a few 2s and a few 1s. Probably re-roll those ones and leave the rest alone.
Right. Extended Spell. This one's okay. When you cast a spell that has a duration of 1 minute or longer, you can spend 1 sorcery point to double its duration to a maximum duration of 24 hours. I can see this being useful. I would definitely say keep in mind the setting and the goal of your campaign. I just feel like there's other ones here that are better than that.
I can see this being useful in a lot of RP heavy, like when you have to infiltrate something,
exactly.
You need to cast a sort of illusion or persuasion spell on someone.
Precisely. Which is why I was saying that be mindful of the scenario that you're playing. If you're in a very combat heavy game, I probably wouldn't take that. Because, I mean, most rounds of combat aren't going to last more than 10 rounds. So that 1 minute, that's more than enough in most cases. Next up, we've got Heightened Spell. When you cast a spell that forces a creature to make a saving throw to resist its effects, you can spend 3 sorcery points to give one target of the spell disadvantage on its first saving throw made against a spell. It's kind of it just gives you a better chance of having someone like fall underneath a dominate creature spell or something like that.
Yeah. Fuck all of you and fuck you in particular.
Yeah. Quicken Spell. When you cast a spell that has a casting time of 1 action, you can spend 2 sorcery points to change the casting time to 1 bonus action for this casting. So where that kind of comes in handy is Bladesinger. Well, no, sorry, this is Sorcerer, not Wizard. So essentially, if you were to cast a normal action spell, that's it. That's all you can do for this turn. But if you cast a spell as a bonus action, that gives you the ability to cast a cantrip as an action. So you can...
really...
Go ahead.
Sorry. I was about to say, a really good scenario I've seen for this is someone runs in, fireballs a group of people, everyone gets knocked down but one person. Oh, you're still up. Cantrip, firebolt to the face.
Yeah. All right. So that was Quicken Spell. Subtle Spell. This is the one I was talking about before. When you cast a spell, you can spend 1 sorcery point to cast it without any somatic or verbal components. Which, I mean, honestly, if you do that, I don't even know that I would have you roll a stealth check, because there's nothing to see. It just kind of happens.
It's very much... I don't know how many people read the Aragon series, but there was a whole thing in that magic system of you could cast... They taught you to cast with hand motions and with spoken aloud words to focus. And
I don't even think they had hand motions. I think it was all the language.
It was mostly language, but some people still used hand motions, I think, just to give it that extra concentration.
Fair
I
enough.
think Aragon did it a couple times. But you could cast it just thinking the spell. It just had the unfortunate side effect of sometimes blowing you up.
Yeah, basically, if you're using the language focuses your mind on the task. If your mind wanders, the spell basically has a higher chance of failing and, like you said, blowing you up. Last but not least, we have Twin Spell. When you cast a spell that targets only one creature and doesn't have a range of self, sorry, Nim, no Seek with Animals, you can spend a number of sorcery points equal to the spell's level to target a second creature in range of the same spell.
Yep.
Run one sorcery point if the spell is a cantrip. To be eligible, a spell must be incapable of targeting more than one creature at the spell's current level. For example, Magic Missile and Scorching Ray are not eligible because you can target multiple creatures with it, but Ray of Frost and Chromatic Orb are. So
that was one of my favorites as a sorceress.
What, being able to twin spell stuff?
The twin spell and the distance one, which I was busy yelling at my children, so I wasn't able to mention a fun story with that. But I'll just continue with twin spell. Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
This was my very first D&D campaign, and I chose to be a sorceress. And we were being attacked by a group of riders that were on basically like giant eagles. I forget what they're called. So there were people riding these giant birds and coming in and attacking us from a distance, and they were above us, but they were still huddled together. So I had Thunderclap.
Oh.
And I used Thunderclap and used the distance spell, so that way I could cast it up in the center of these riders. And I rolled a natural 20.
Yay.
So my DM had me roll the damage, and I murdered all 3 of them. Because I literally just sent that thundercloud out from the middle of them and knocked them all off of their birds at a very high distance. So,
I can't find the spell. It's not thunderclap. What is it?
The Thunder Wave?
Thunderwave. The one that sends people back a certain distance.
Yeah, I think it might be Thunder Wave.
A wave of thunderous force sweeps out from you. Each creature in a 15-foot cube originating from you must make a Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, a creature takes 2d8 thunder damage and is pushed 10 feet away from you. On a successful save, the creature takes half damage and isn't pushed. In addition, unsecured objects fly around, blah blah blah. At higher levels, damage is increased by 1d8 for each slot above first level. So what level did you cast it at? Do you remember?
I don't remember because it was a while ago.
It was a level 20 spell. It was awesome. The world just broke in half. It was just damn.
It was just one of those moments that the dice combined with the opportune moment of using a spell like that in the center of 3 people who were trying to, do combat on the back of flying, animals, that because I rolled a natural 20, it ended up being to where I literally just knocked them the fuck out, and when they fell off of their birds, they weren't conscious to break their fall.
I need to check something because I'm afraid it wasn't Thunderwave.
Hold on. It was not a high level.
Well, because Thunderwave is a self.
Tone. It comes from you and radiates out. You might have used Shatter.
Right.
You pick a point.
Well, I thought she said use the distancing spell.
Well, but the
distancing spell.
But the distancing spell doesn't work with self. It only works with touch or something that is ranged.
So that was a situation where my DM made an exception for the distance.
Okay.
I mean, technically, you can still do it. It just means that it goes from you and goes out to a farther distance.
If we are looking at that spell, the distance spell, or the distance spell metamagic feat, when you cast a spell that has a range of 5 feet or greater, you can spend 1 sorcery point to double the range of the spell. When you cast a spell that has a range of touch, you can spend 1 sorcery point to make the range 30 feet. Thunder Wave is self. That is neither range nor touch.
Well, yeah, but she just said the DM made an exception.
No, I get that, and I'm all for it. I'm just saying that if you are a rules lawyer, unfortunately that would not have worked.
So, not necessarily true. And the only reason I'm going to say that is because it says self in the main description, but if you open the spell up, it does say self/15 feet.
No, you are casting it on yourself, and it radiates from you 15 feet. That is different than saying, I am casting this at a point centered 15 feet away from me.
I guess. I could see that.
I mean, essentially what you're doing is you were clapping your hands. Like, there's no touchy-touchy. There's no, right. I'm going to, ventriloquist my Thunder Wave over there.
So, real fast, Kirsten.
Hulk clap.
So, yeah. Kirsten, it wasn't the damage that made them fall off. Was it the boom that made them fall? Like, it scared the birds and the birds dropped them off?
So, it was damage plus the fall with them not being able to... So, I basically knocked them out.
Yeah,
unconscious. And they fell without being able to... It was very much a Rule of Cool moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can also see where he might have done the Rule of Cool because it says the boom is audible out to 300 feet.
Yeah. So my intention was to knock them off of the birds so they would be down at, combat level with us because we had a lot of melee.
Gotcha.
I didn't think I would murder all 3 of them, but it
hey, it works.
Just how the dice went, and the DM kind of was like, okay, this is really cool. It was also my first campaign, so part of me thinks he's like, I'm gonna give her this cool moment.
just let her have it for the most part.
Right. But it was still that there in itself, it really made me appreciate the ability to do distance spells, especially when you are a caster, and you might have some nice ones that are touch, but I'm squishy and I don't want to get all up in the ogre's face that's hurting my friend, but I still want to heal my friend.
Right.
Kind of situation.
And again, the only reason that I was saying that, oh, my chat avatars just broke really fucking hard there.
Uh-oh.
That's weird. I'll see if I can fix that. And again, as I've always said, I am really, really big about the rule of cool. I love the rule of cool. But I still feel like I need to play devil's advocate sometimes and just say, like, if you're going by the rules, that would not have been allowed. Because there are some people out there that are like that. It's like, you have to follow the rule to the letter.
Yeah.
I don't really know what's happened to the chat avatars. The web server is down, so I'm just going to turn those off for now because it looks kind of ugly.
We are lost.
They're up for me. Like I just opened up my OBS and they're still chatting away for me.
I wonder if I can just, is there a way to refresh? Yeah, it says web server is down. Strange. Refresh cache to current page? Nope, still down. Okay, I don't know what's happened. We'll just disable it for now so it doesn't look so damn ugly. Alright, well I feel like we've touched enough on those that we can move on. Yeah? Any parting thoughts?
It's a great. So we've talked a lot about different classes of bread and butter. Definitely the sorcerer's bread and butter, and I think it's one of the best class features in the game.
Sorry, say that one more time. I was slightly distracted.
No, you're good. I was just saying, like, we've talked a lot of in the past, and even today a little, we talked a lot about classes like bread and butter, like their main shtick. And I think that as far as class features go, for like main class feature, I think Sorcerer has one of the better ones with Metamagic because it is very versatile and in a lot of ways just depends on how well the player knows their spells and how good their imagination is sometimes.
Yeah, and on top of that, it's Metamagic is available to all sorcerers. You're not limited to a subclass of it either,
Right.
which is awesome.
Also, for those of you looking to spice up a different spellcaster, it's now a feat. You don't get as many sorcery points, and you don't get as many different metamagic features. But hey, you can add a few to your spellcaster.
I saw that.
Add some to your spellcaster today.
How do you all have so many feats? I only have 2.
Well, you take feats instead of ability score increases.
Yep.
But what are you standing on?
God damn it.
Yeah.
I haven't had enough whiskey for this. Okay, so parting thoughts?
But I don't want to die.
Well, shame. We're going to skip ahead one topic to cover Nim's recommendations because he's being requested elsewhere by someone who refuses to join the show.
There.
So, you recommended using music and sound effects and voice effects versus just using your own voice for sound effects. So,
Yeah.
my initial statement to this before I leave it to you is absolutely, so long as it doesn't get annoying or interfere with the game. But I turn the floor over to you, dear sir.
Oh, the floor's so dirty, I'm gonna lick it clean.
I do not want that sound effect.
Oh, but how do you know I don't already have that in my stream deck? Speaking
Wouldn't
of
surprise me at all.
Matthew Mercer, he is a good person. He has many voices and he can make funny noises with his mouth. So, what is all y'all's opinion on, like, just y'all coming over, having a couple of beers, and then your DM is just making all the funny sounds with his own voice, like funny voices. Let's say a horde of goblins comes up and he's all like, goblin horde. Or would you rather it be how we do it kind of now, only with a little bit more technology of a Stream Deck or a Go XLR that has a pad where you can queue up sound effects, queue up music via Sirenscape or other methods like Spotify? Which would you prefer? Just mouth-made sound effects or like pre-rendered graphics?
Me personally, like the extra sound effects and all, like whenever there's like a horse whinnying or something, that's just because I'm too lazy to hit play on one of those like ambient music selections and really listen all the way through to it, because a lot of those elements have like a delay on it. It'll say like this plays randomly anywhere between 55 seconds and a minute and 30 seconds. So you may hear it like, you know, once every 10 minutes or not at all, and then you'll hear it like every 5 seconds just because it's random. I prefer to do the voices and the sound effects with my mouth, but I like having the ambient background because it's a subtle way of getting you into the environment. If you just hear like trees and birds and a little bit of music, it's not like, oh man, listen to the birds and the music. It's like, okay, I feel like I am somewhere. You hear the distant babble of conversation and people hammering and hoofbeats. You feel like you're in a town by a cobbled road. It's not making up for the noises of you walking in on someone that's getting, their toenails clipped and they miss and they go, ah! Like, no, you still do that with your mouth. But yeah, that's my take on it. I like having the ambiance there. It puts everyone in this. I feel it puts you in the scene more than just it being dead quiet, except for the DM making a few noises every now and then.
Fair enough.
I definitely agree. Like, especially when we have the opportunity to use it, because we are going over the internet, and even if you're live, you can set up your laptop or something to be playing music. At least having music is always a nice thing because it does add that little background white noise. Definitely with like if you're in a town or something, it's nice to have a few mumblings of people talking in the background or like a wagon going by or something.
Crackling fire.
City streets.
Yeah. It's nice to, if you go into like a really kind of shady and market interior or something, you might have like the light clanging of maybe something hanging from the ceiling as you open the door and the wind blows it, so it kind of clangs around a little bit. Something like some nice ambient noise is always appreciated. It's never required, but it's always a nice thing to add a little bit more ambience. As for like, I definitely am the similar way of like, I like making sound effects that I know I can make. I like doing the voices as a DM, and I like hearing other DMs do their version of sounds or voices or whatever.
Can we all agree that Matthew Mercer's sound for the giant like ice worm was fucking terrifying?
Oh, it was so good.
I don't know what sound it is.
I'll find a clip of it for you later, Zach.
But not all of us are Matthew Mercer. Not all of us can make unbelievably realistic sounds with our mouth. So it's nice to augment every now and then with like a soundbite that gets the point across a lot better than you, the DM, could.
It can't be distracting. It can't take you out of the game. It shouldn't take you, if you're using a sound for like a goblin attacking, you're like, you don't want to be like, and all of a sudden,
wait for it.
Just a minute. Just a minute. Okay, and then it happens like that. That's bad.
Yeah.
And
so, like, when we play this in person, are you going to be bringing down your Stream Deck and other things, your computer that has a bunch of sound effects, or are you just...
no, because Sirenscape is all online. So I just need an internet connection and a device that, because you can get the Sirenscape app on your phone. So I would literally have the player open like on my phone, plugged into like a Bluetooth speaker or something, and then on like my Samsung tablet or something like that, I can have the web page open and I can be cycling through the background music there, and it would just be playing around us.
Excuse me, young man. You'd be coming up here.
Regardless
That's
of where we are, I have a way of playing it in person as well as over the internet.
So you're more of like modernizing D&D, making it more digital. Like I know we're playing over the interwebs, but like making digital sound effects and music to where back in ye olde times when I was in high school, we did all this stuff with our mouths, and I'm like, if we had music on, it was probably just background Lord of the Rings music.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm not so much about like fully digitized. The reason that we're doing this online is because we cannot physically be together to play. It's more of a necessity. On top of that, though, like, sure, if we were in person and we didn't have all this technology, I would say, like, you know, you walk into a tavern, you hear them, there's a pianist plinking away at an old piano, you're like, but then I would have to stop and move on to describe the rest. And, you know, I can't be making those sounds while you guys are playing with each other and role-playing and talking to NPCs. So that's why I say I'd like having the ambient music. I don't want to use it for creature noises because that's kind of fun. But like when you guys were down in the mines with the mushroom tender and just having that haunting, just the ambient like whoo, going on the whole time, just like fading in and out, that just like subconsciously gives you a sense of like what the fuck is going to be around the corner, versus it just being like me describing that once and then it being dead quiet again.
Yeah.
The Gator
I'm-
Dimension welcomes all.
It's
I'm
not
all
necessary.
for digitizing.
Yeah. It's not necessary, but it is always nice if you do it correctly.
Yeah. And if you don't have a slow-ass computer that takes 5 seconds to play a simple WAV file.
Right. I don't know that I agree with having a soundboard for creature noises, just because I feel like the time it would take for me to hunt and pick and find those and have them ready for everything else that I need to be focusing on is a little much. Like, I already have trouble cycling through and finding the transition from nighttime to interior to traveling. So trying to
Because
find sound effects for, like, you're walking around, you hear the roar of a dinosaur in the distance. To me, that's just too much, and it takes away from the joy of it. Have the background shit ready to go, and that's pretty much all you need in my book.
I've seen other streams on Twitch of like people playing D&D online, and there's a DM who has like 4 Stream Deck XLs with like 50 different banks connected to like 3 different computers, with like 3 sets of either close, nearby, or far variants of sound effects for weapons and creatures and all that.
Yeah, I mean,
It's like,
good
it's
for
cool
him.
if you could do it, but
That's a lot of money. I mean, my little Stream Deck was like 150. Like, it was a great buy. I love it to death. I wish I had a bigger one, but those are like $200-300, man. They're pricey. And Ian is better than all of them. Damn right.
yeah. Not to be biased, but I do think that our stream is a little bit more unique and personalized and friendly compared to other D&D streams that I've seen on Twitch, because a lot of them are trying to be Critical Role, and they're trying to commercialize everything and be more over the top, to where we're a family and we're like playing as a family, and like we are our characters, to where everyone else is just actors.
Yeah, we're not professionals. This is a hobby. We're having fun. Except for Zach. Zach just wants to win.
Kill everything.
I like having fun too. It's just because I enjoy.
Yeah, but you
killing
guys don't like
everything.
me having fun, Kirsten. With your silvery barbs.
Listen, I was just being smart.
Excuse me, young man. If you want me to not let you have fun, I can do that.
Challenge accepted. I'll find that Tarask.
What's a Tarask again?
No, nothing. Don't worry about it. So, Nim,
You're into
any
Google.
other closing remarks as far as this particular topic goes, so we can release him to the wild?
Use background audio to stop the awkward silences of people farting silently around the table, even though they aren't farting silently and you can hear them, but you don't want to look at them and embarrass them. And also use sound effects if you can.
I'm not gonna lie, I stopped paying attention partway through that.
Yeah, because you're the person who farts all the time.
I can neither confirm nor deny these accusations. I plead the fifth.
Stinky.
Okay. All right. So you're gonna dip out to go help someone else with something thingy?
Yeah.
I wish you luck, good sir.
Thank you. I should hopefully be back. If not, then nobody touch my moss.
Touch.
If he's not back before the stream is done, you can catch him again on Monday for Pest Plays, which I believe we're going to continue Halo 3, so long as Metal's available. If he's not available, maybe we'll do 2.
Yep.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
Mr.
All right.
Sam.
Goodbye, have
So,
fun.
bye. Last topic, hopefully not the least, is another one suggested by Zeke, because no one else has given me topics.
I just did. Fuck you.
You're welcome.
Homebrewing different spell stats for spellcasters, yes or no? And what he means by this is a sorcerer uses charisma as their spellcasting modifier. But what if they used wisdom? So,
Or intelligence.
I only wrote like two very small paragraphs about this, and then I'm going to let Zeke take over because I think he's probably got a better. My initial assessment of this is there's no blanket answer. This is another one of those situations where it's all up to the DM. For me personally, I would lean towards saying no, unless the player had a damn good reason for it. Like, the rules are there for a reason. Not to mention that it would be a colossal pain in the ass to swap every spell from one stat to another. Granted, you could just say that anything that was charisma based is now wisdom based, but it's clunky. And I just foresee there being a lot of awkwardness and things just not working right. But Zeke, I'm going to pass it over to you since you're the one that suggested it. I'm assuming you have some idea of how this would be feasible. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. I'll be honest, it's been a while since I suggested this, so I don't remember the exact reason this popped up in my head to suggest. But there are a few points that I've always had rattling around in my head, and it mostly comes from not really a functional place, like not really a min-maxing, but more of a role-playing aspect. Because when you choose a class, or whenever you come up with a character, you might think, oh, it would be really cool to play a sorcerer that is really good at insight or really good at perception, but your main stats are going to be, depending on how you do that, usually your main stats for sorcerer are going to be charisma and constitution, and everything else is going to take a little bit of a back seat. So that doesn't lean
dexterity,
as well.
constitution, and your wisdom. So your constitution and your dex, so that you have like more than a can of soup's worth of hit points, and you have a little bit more of an AC because your dexterity you can dodge essentially.
Right. So stuff like wisdom and intelligence are going to take a back seat. Well, what if you want to be a really intelligent? Say we're using the point buy system here. Point buy system does not leave a lot of room for a third high stat. You usually have your 2 high stats, and everything else kind of takes a back seat. And
well, you could have
really
3 high stats, but then the rest of your stats are going to be 10s basically, or 8s.
Probably less.
Yeah, I think that's actually 8s.
Yeah, and one might be even less than that.
And even then, the most you can give yourself is 15.
Right. Well, no, you can...
If you're doing the point buy system, I don't believe you can go higher than a 15.
I'll have to check that. But, or even if you're rolling and you just don't roll a good set of numbers, you're like, well, there goes my idea for a sorcerer that's really good at anything other than charisma based abilities.
Point
So
buy, the
it's
highest
more
you
of
can
a
go is
roll-
15.
Okay. So yeah, it's more of a role play aspect than anything else of, well, what if you just want to put a new spin on a character? The rules as is doesn't really give a lot of wiggle room for that point buy or those unfortunately low D6 rolls for your stats.
Like my 7.
Oh, shut up!
Because typically the sorcerer or the bard, those charisma spellcasters are gonna be persuasive or intimidating or deceptive. The cleric is gonna be insightful and perceptive. The wizard is going to be good at investigation, stuff like that. Like, I'm just saying, for certain situations, it's normal. It's the normal situation is that if you have those low rolls, like would you as a DM be okay with like, oh well, I see where you're coming from, and it doesn't change that much other than a little bit of copy and paste to get a cool idea off the ground.
I'm going to use your same words and say that as the DM, I see what you're saying, but I also kind of disagree.
Okay.
And the reason for that being is, now that I kind of fully understand what it is you're talking about, is I believe that the reason all the different classes have specific skill modifiers that they lean heavily into is because they want you to have a more well-rounded team. The barbarian is not going to be smart. They're going to get mind controlled a bunch. But it's very good to have someone on your team that is less susceptible. A wizard, a sorcerer who has been training their minds to not be susceptible to that and kill the fuck out of them. And the same coin, the wizard and the sorcerer are very much not strong. However, you've got Chungus McCloud Man over here that can just pick them up by the scruff of their neck and carry them as they wade through lava screaming to drop them off and go, all right, I'm going back for the cleric, be right back, and do it again. Because that's what he's there for.
I
think that the main point of that, of why a sorcerer is charisma based and a wizard is intelligence based, is as you make the party, you've got the people that are good at doing those different things. The barbarian's going to be good at physicality things. The wizard's going to be good at, like you said, investigating and perception, because that's their world.
Okay, so I do have to point this one out. So this actually came from an anime I watched. I don't know why. I watched like 2 episodes. I was like, yeah, it's not for me. But I did like one of the characters in it. And it threw me off really fucking hard because I didn't expect it or see it coming. So how this could pertain to like how certain classes do certain things. It's like, it's one of those where... Yeah, sorry, there was something on my keyboard. I just want to blow off. But so it's a world where magic is everything. Even melee, like, users, so like, fighters, use magic to a degree. And it's really powerful, like, sorcerer. In that world, a sorcerer is just somebody who uses magic. Don't look into it anymore other than guy uses magic. And I'm sitting there and he's fucking jacked. I mean, like, I'm sitting here like, okay, so this dude just works out a lot. And fucker literally gets into his first fight, and I'm like, okay, cool, let's see what spells he's gonna sling. Fucking imbues his hands with magic and just starts beating the living shit out of a dragon. And I'm like, I kind of wish I would have thought a little bit harder, because kind of could have seen that one coming from a mile away, but just, it's not the norm. Like, if you see a powerful sorcerer, the first thought in your head is usually, shoots powerful spell out of hand. not imbues body with magic to become even more of a fucking meathead.
It kind of leans a little bit almost into Full Metal Alchemist in a way.
Great, yeah. Like Armstrong.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
But that's the things, like, it's not that he's stupid. He's not stupid. He's just not as smart as a lot of the other wizards, so his form of magic was put into what he was good at, and he was always, you know, he liked bodybuilding, I guess, or he liked, you know, working out and being active, so that's what his magic ended up, you know, coming into. But at the same time, you do have situations where warriors or barbarians, not saying that they can't be extremely strong, but like there are plenty of examples out there where like it's a barbarian, but they're getting older in life and they're wise. Like, yes, they may be ruthless in combat, but they're not stupid. They make very intelligent decisions in the heat of combat, and even though they're angry.
I want to be clear here that I'm not saying that barbarians are stupid and that wizards and whatever can't like lift things. I just mean that they can't do it to the extent that their party members can, and that's the point. That these people fill niches in the group. I mean, if you look at Critical Role Season 1, when What's-His-Face left, their sorcerer, all of a sudden, like, a lot of their damage is gone. A fair amount of their support is gone, especially when Ashley has to go away and they don't have Pike. Like, that is monstrously detrimental. They have to be so careful because essentially their healing is just more than cut in half.
Yes. When those people go to where they're going before.
So Ashley plays a cleric.
Oh,
when she go like
that...
Yes. She travels a bunch for work. She does voice acting and actual acting. Like, she just physically cannot be there. So for like 50% or more of the game, she's unfortunately just not able to be there to play. So they're down a healer. Their sorcerer was, asked to leave because he had, or chose to leave. I don't remember the specifics, but essentially he left the group because their ideas of how the game should be done just didn't mesh, and that's fine. That happens. But there was a lot of their, extra damage gone. There was a lot of their utility casting gone, and you kind of notice it. And like, if they're ever out and about, and like Grog is out, their barbarian, when he's out doing something, and Vax isn't there, well, he's not going to be able to smooth talk his way out of anything. He's not going to be able to pick a lock and finesse his way through stuff. Meanwhile, Vax is over there and he's stuck on a door with no lock and he can't get it open because he's not as strong as Grog. You've got those gaps. That's the point of the party, having strengths and different characteristics, that when you start shifting those, to me, that kind of unbalances the game and kind of defeats the purpose of you guys having a spread of characters instead of like 3 sorcerers, but one is intelligence, one is wisdom, one is charisma.
You have completely missed my point.
No, I'm not. I am just saying it very broadly.
No, because I'm not saying that for that purpose. I'm saying in a way that, say that you have a person who wants to make a character that is very charismatic.
Right.
But they don't want to play sorcerer, bard, or paladin. They want to play this like smooth talking person, but they don't want to, and a spellcaster, but they don't want to play one of those 3 players. They actually like how the wizard plays better, or they like how the druid plays better. They like those abilities better, but they don't want to shoot themselves in the foot in case the dice roll, the point buy just doesn't work out. I'm not saying that they're trying to make a party of all one class, or they're trying to do both. I'm saying they're trying to exchange that.
I'm aware of that, and I'm not. I was making that reference as an extreme example.
Okay.
I totally understand what you're saying, but again, what I'm getting at is that if you want to play a druid that's charismatic, great. Put points in charisma. I don't think that the way to solve that is to say that, well, the bard's spellcasting modifier is now charisma. I don't think that's the way to go.
Or you could even, since, everybody can do whatever they want, the DM can come up with an item that increases their charisma. Because I mean, like,
Those
other than
items
being
exist.
yeah, other than those items literally being there to add points to a certain stat, I mean, that charisma's not going to do anything for you in combat.
I mean,
like,
there's
it's not good.
absolutely nothing to say that you can't have a barbarian with,
20 intelligence.
18 strength and 20 intelligence. There's nothing wrong with that. You're gonna hurt somewhere else in one of your other stats, but that's the game.
Yeah, it's like, again, it's, are you in the game for RP purposes, or are you in the mix of the two, or are you a min-maxer? It's like, honestly, it's whatever you feel like playing, or whatever you feel like doing.
I do not agree with... I don't agree with the idea of a sorcerer whose spellcasting modifier is charisma being able to say, oh, well, I'm just really intelligent, like I'm super smart, so I just want my spellcasting modifier to be that. Because that shifts the party dynamic a little bit. Now, if you want to be a sorcerer that has a lot of points in charisma and intelligence, your spellcasting modifier is still charisma, but one of your other stats may suffer for it. And again, that's the game. I made Boar dumb as fuck. I think his intelligence was like a 6, so that I could have like my strength maxed.
I still think you're missing the point. But moving on, the other.
How am I missing your point? What am I missing?
I don't quite understand it either, Zeke. I'm not gonna lie. I don't quite understand the point you're trying to make.
It's not because you keep going back to, oh, you're unbalancing the party. How would that unbalance the party? That has nothing to do with the party dynamics. This is not about a party dynamic of that type. You're just trying to make a character that if a person is trying to make a character that does not fit the normal mold. What if they want to make a druid that isn't wise? Like, I'm trying to say, what is wrong with someone trying to break the mold?
I understand. Okay, so what I'm saying is that a druid has wisdom as their spellcasting modifier, right?
Yeah.
So basically, what a druid, who is a class of the forest, of the wilderness, they're going to be good at animal handling, insight, medicine, perception, survival. Those are all things that a druid are generally supposed to be good at. If you then instead say, well, I want a very charismatic druid, can I please change my things from wisdom to intelligence? Or, sorry, then charisma. All of a sudden, you're very good at deception, intimidation, performance, and persuasion. Those aren't really like druid things.
I think I understand where he's coming with, and I think I understand where you're going with it. It's like, to a degree, certain classes are usually innately assumed to be good at certain things.
Yes.
What Zeke is saying is, I'm not. So, for example, you will use your druid. Druid are really good at talking to animals, doing certain things. Well, I want to play a druid that's not good at any of that. But I still want to be effective in some of the spells that I cast. So, like, I don't know if there's, like, certain damaging spells might be good. Like,
what I'm getting at about the party dynamic is that when you do that, you change your thing to charisma. Well, then now you've got the player that wanted to play a sorcerer that was really good at charisma, and now you just got two people that are really good at charisma, instead of having someone that's good at charisma and someone that's good at wisdom. That's what I mean about the party dynamic being upset.
I can see where you're coming with this one,
You're
but
not even going to necessarily have that, though.
So, I'm gonna give you guys my 2 cents on this one. Because I probably am the newest person in here when it comes to a lot of D&D stuff, so the way that I'm going to think of it is as somebody who's new. While it does, to a degree, break the mold of kind of how you assume party things should, like, party dynamics should be, at the same time, if you do it well, and you find ways to overcome your problems by using different solutions, I don't necessarily see it being the biggest negative out there. Obviously, yes, like, if you have a dumb druid and you come up with not a dumb druid, but a druid who might not be good at talking to animals, hypothetically, and you have a situation that comes up where, you might need to talk to animals to get through a certain part or get through some situation that will make you go through door A instead of door B, door A being a little easier. Well, yeah, but then you have to be creative in your way of handling that situation where, okay, you can't talk to the animal, so how do we get through this by using another means? And I guess that's not answering the whole question, but it's all your party. Like, I understand that there's that mold, but at the same time, if you can work as a party and you can work as, players to kind of move the narrative or move the story along or progress through a situation maybe outside of a norm, like the assumed way to do it, or even more creative than somebody would normally put a creative tag on something, then I can see how it would be useful. I don't think changing the modifier for the stat, though, would fix it. I think that you'd be better off instead of changing, like, so for example, I think you guys said Druid was wisdom. Instead of changing like their modifier to intellect, instead, when you make your character's backstory, change it so that, okay, hey, I might be bad at this, but then pick one other thing that you might be good at to kind of subvert that, understanding that you're taking that detriment because that's how you want your character to play as. You have to understand in that situation, you're putting yourself in a handicap, regardless of if it's fun for the way you want your character to be. That's totally true. If you want to play your druid that's not good at something that they're assumed to be good at, that's fine. They're in a world of humanity right now. I guarantee you, there are stupid computer programmers. There are really athletic nerds. It's like, just because we assume that something is normally like how we assume, like how we imagine them in our head, doesn't always mean that that's what they're going to be like. But at the same time,
you can have a +8 in your athletics and still fail the roll. Like it's only like sure, it'll help you, but you still have a chance of failing.
Yeah, but again, at that point, like, D&D is good enough to where you can modify the. I literally made a fucking stat that says +8 to rolling a D20. It's a meme. It literally does nothing for me, but I made something for it. Like, go in your stats. If you talk to your DM and like, hey, I don't want to be super great at this, but like my character's got a background in playing sports or being very athletic, can I specifically add +2 to athletics just for athletics? It doesn't affect anything else that might be affected by an athletic modifier. I think it's like dexterity or whatever, but just that specifically for that specific character for that situation.
In that particular sense, that's why you have backstories. Your backstories and your origins are generally what are going to let you pick proficiencies in things. So if you're a druid and you pick some other like city slicker origin, then it's going to say, okay, you have this list of skills to have proficiency in, and all of a sudden you've got a +3 in it.
You might have to be creative in a way that you are better at something that you would normally not be better at, and worse in a way that you might not normally be worse in. I just don't think. I think I understand where you're trying to get, Zeke, because to be fair, that does create some really interesting dynamic when it comes to a character. What happens if you have a warrior that maybe isn't all that strong, but instead of being strong, he's very precise. Maybe he's very direct with his attacks. He always finds a weak spot. You can RP that without really reducing a stat and making something else better, if that makes any sense. It's just all the way in how you handle it. Zeke.
No, I'm just sitting here because this topic got completely away from what I was talking about.
I don't.
Well, Zach, you understood kind of what I was going for better than Ian, but this topic kind of got away from me, so I'm just waving my white flag here.
I guess I understand that it might not be it may have to be something we revisit later when we have a better handle on it, but I kind of get where you're going with it. I
understand where you're going with it, but I see it breaking things. I see it breaking the point of the game.
I can't see what you're seeing, Ian.
Listen, we can have a difference of opinion here.
Yes.
It doesn't matter.
Just
because you guys are both wrong and I'm right doesn't mean that we can't all have a narrative.
My final thoughts on this is that if you are a sorcerer and your spell stat is charisma, but you also want to be intelligent, put points into intelligence and charisma. That's how the game's meant to be played. Changing a stat because you just want your spellcasting to be initiative because not initiative, intelligence, because you want to be more focused on intelligence and that's what your character's like. I don't agree with that.
Listen, I want my spells to be as fast as possible. They're not strong, they're just initiatively fast. Fuck it.
My spellcasting modifier is dexterity.
I will
Fucking
say,
Naruto finger gestures it.
I will say I don't think this works for anything outside of spellcasters. So
Oh,
like you were
God,
saying,
no.
Zach, with the fighter, that I don't think that works at all. I don't even think it works
actually,
for all.
What? Why wouldn't it? If we're going off of your thing, then a fighter is what, strength normally?
Well,
could they not?
yeah, is
Swap
strength
it
or
to dexterity? Oh, it's and dexterity. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, fighter can be strength or any of the martial classes can really excel in strength or dexterity. Some are designed for one over the other, but
Technically, they
theoretically,
can
yeah.
do either.
I mean, Metal had a dexterity-based paladin, which was one of the weirdest things I've ever seen.
I mean,
It
to be
worked.
fair, if
It
you
worked.
really, yeah, if you really think about it, though, like D&D does stuff in black and white. Not that that's bad, but like if you really think about it, if you're a barbarian or you're a fighter and you're really strong, obviously you're going to be better at what you do. But if you really think about combat, combat isn't all just about hitting something super hard. It's being intelligent to know when to go into a fight. It's being smart enough and
You
wise
take that
enough to
shit
know
back.
where to strike.
Monkey
It's-
brain
yeah.
say bonk, we bonk.
It's all about nothing is only one stat technically. If you really look at how combat is done or situations are handled, you may be it's always just kind of like it's a game to a degree. You're confined somewhat by the mechanics of how the game is designed. And of all people who like breaking the mold, trust me, I fucking see it. Like, I love breaking the mold because I make people very angry, but I come up with ways to handle situations that normally aren't.
You make people angry,
of.
but you're doing it via the rules of the game, which is what is fascinating about you.
Yeah, it's again, you have to don't look at it in a way you're looking at this in a way that makes sense for like a DM to look at it. When to be fair, you shouldn't look at it like that because you're confining yourself into I have to follow these sets of rules. Even if I change the stats, you're still putting forth rules for you to follow. Don't make rules. Break them. Like, the best way for you to ever come up with a system that works in a way you want it to work is not by changing something that exists. It's by inventing something that follows the rules that you make. And that's one of the reasons why, like, in campaigns, like, for example, like I said before, when my rabbit jumped I think it was like 45 feet up into the air because I was just able to put myself in that situation with the rules that I came up with. I followed a rule, we play tested it, it seemed like it was balanced enough, and we accepted it. Find a way to get what you want while coming up with rules that are balanced to a degree enough to where a DM will accept what you say as being something that could be used, being fun, and not breaking the game in a absolutely busted way, like you'll just kill everything all the time, or you'll be able to handle every situation out there. It's like, that's always the best way to do it.
There
It's
are
just
absolutely ways in the game.
Hold on.
No problem.
There are
Like I got
absolutely
home.
ways in the game that if you
Sorry, I
are
heard screaming outside my window. I was
if
very
you are
you're
a
good, dude. That's
charisma-based caster, there are loads of ways via the game and its multitude of rules to increase your other stats to be very comparable.
Yeah.
So
Or, like, do it in a way that Grog did. See Grog.
oh yeah, the orc rogue that put all of his points into strength so that he can intimidate the fuck out of people.
And they can't see him because of
Yes,
this. Like,
he intimidated them to not seeing him.
it's literally honestly, I think I understand what you're saying, Zeke. I really do. I don't really know how to word it in a way that will make sense to a degree where you can accept what I'm saying is understanding, but I know what you're trying to do, and I honestly think instead of changing the system that
Beat the
exists,
system.
coming up with a system of your own that makes enough sense to where somebody can use it in the game as is will end up netting a better result. If that makes any sense to you.
Yes and no. And obviously I think we're all three gonna have our own opinions about this, but like just personally, I feel like it isn't that much of a problem to change certain spellcasters' spell modifying stat. Now, granted, I would not change a wizard. I don't think that makes sense at all. Like, I think this makes sense for maybe sorcerers and maybe.
And
Go ahead.
Sorry.
more screaming outside the house.
We apparently had a intruder in the pool area.
Fun stuff.
Interesting.
But yeah, so I wouldn't do that for wizard because I don't think that would make sense. I don't know about cleric because obviously I think wisdom fits very well, and I don't know if charisma or intelligence would fit very well either. But
so
what I was saying was like for it's like a different example, a warlock who wasn't charismatic, because like charisma just seems like they picked one out of midair for warlock. I don't see why a warlock
I can see
couldn't
that
be
situation
intelligent.
specifically. Like,
Yeah,
I can see
I
that
don't see why.
specifically.
Yeah, a warlock couldn't be intelligent or wise, and I don't see why a sorcerer whose magic doesn't come from like a bard, doesn't come from a place of music and performance, which would be right now. Oh, I thought you said. Hold on, I gotta go.
Well, I think I have won this conversation. I am the
Well,
winner.
so
You guys all suck.
well now while he's not here, he's kind of already contradicting himself.
No, so he wants it to be true for a specific situation, for a specific two classes.
Right.
Whereas I'm not looking at it as a way of that.
but
I'm
he's-
looking at it as a whole.
I am looking at it as a whole as well, because he's talking about like a bard, for example. He's like, oh well, they got to be charismatic because they got to perform and schmooze. It's like you could be intelligent. You could be very fucking intelligent and do that exact same thing.
Beethoven.
Well, yeah. So I mean, him saying that like, oh, this is only going to work for this and this is like that's fundamentally not true. If you're doing this, it has to be available to more than just the class that you want. Because like,
I will
sure,
say
I could
this.
see a sorcerer being intelligent or wise or charismatic to do their stuff. It makes sense. I get that. And same with bards and like the rogue. Like the rogue is supposed to be dexterous and sneaky, but instead he was just big and loud and intimidating.
Yeah, I personally, if I had to put my 2 cents on it, I do think that instead of following a mold, like, I can see where his argument is coming from. I don't think it's a big deal to do this one thing in this one situation. I can agree. I don't think it is that big a deal. Whether it's a big deal or not, does it make sense?
Well,
Honestly, no. But like I can see where he's coming from. I just don't think that he's
I think I'm looking at a bigger picture than he is. He's not seeing it as much of a problem because it's not breaking the character itself. But the way that I'm looking at it is you want this traditionally charisma character to be intelligence based. But then why are you not just playing a character that's intelligence based? Or at that point, this other person that wanted to be an intelligence based character, like it. I don't know.
I can see. So, for example, you want to play a character that's this but not this.
Mm-hmm.
So, a cleric is what, wisdom?
Yes.
Does Zahn seem very wise to you? In anything other than literally combat?
Yeah, you literally have your wisdom there so that you can cast your spells good.
But that's not saying that I can't do other things. It's
Exactly.
just, for me, the way that I see Zahn as a character, my wisdom modifier does not pertain to all wisdom. It's he's smart in the things that he's very adept in outside of like the norm. So
Yeah.
he's not wise in you should do this with your life. He can be if he to a degree understands the situation, like Kasumi, where she was the only one of her whatever, and she, people didn't like her a lot, or like he can relate to that because it's a situation that to a degree he's been through, or to a degree he's been through.
Yeah,
but
I think we're
I'm
starting
not
to
gonna
talk in circles a bit here.
Yeah.
Not to mention the main person that wants to talk about it had to leave for things.
Yeah,
so,
I have a feeling it's dealing with the screaming.
So with that being said, we've been going for almost 2 hours, and I feel like we've talked in circles of Zeke thinking I don't understand when I understand, but I don't think he thinks I understand. And I'm poking holes and being devil's advocate in a broader scale than what he is trying to narrowly focus on. But regardless, doesn't matter. I don't agree. He doesn't agree. Zach is Zach.
I'm right.
So, with that being said, if you haven't already, join the Discord. Link I just posted in the stream chat. If you're listening to this later, link should be down below somewhere to join us. We're always looking for more people to hang out with and do stuff with. And if you want to pop in for Whiskey Wednesdays and share your 2 cents, by all means, please do. Every other Wednesday, we're live. I don't believe there's anything else going on this week. I don't think we have any other streams planned, but we will have Pez Plays next Monday, and the campaign will be played next Friday. Not this coming Friday, but the Friday after. So, yeah, Zach, Issa, any last comments, concerns?
That I
Issa.
can think of.
Oh, I was supposed to say, Issa, you in here?
Oh, she's sneaky
Yeah.
bitch.
I haven't heard you say nothing.
I'm back.
Oh, well, we're signing off. Sorry.
Yeah, we
You're
decided we were right, you were wrong, and you just got to get off.
We were kind of talking ourselves in circles. It wasn't really going anywhere. But
It's okay, you guys are small-minded. I get it. Just can't see the bigger picture.
Who confuses you as a DM by breaking the mold? Oh,
it's okay. I just disconnected him.
Ah, I thought he left.
No, we're done.
I'm sorry, Zeke. Who made you really think as a DM as your player that you'd never really handled before?
In
Oh,
any
that's
case,
right.
good night, everybody. Love you all. Be safe. And at the very least, we'll see you Monday for Pez Plays. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.